So it's a very warm welcome to O'Billiard Café in Kearny Mesa. This is a scene practice match from the BCA Pool League here between myself, Mike Holt, breaking the balls now, and my team captain, Wroolie. We thought we'd get together because we've got a big league match tomorrow night against the second place team. We're currently sitting in third and they're a really strong team, so we wanted to make sure we got a little bit of practice to try and acquit ourselves as best as we can. So what we're doing here is we're doing sets the same as will be played in the league tomorrow night, of a race to 3 racks with a lag for the break. And after I broke dry, Brian had an opening on the 1 ball, put his desired shape for the 2, didn't quite work out. He needed to get above that and just ended up coming below it and kissing it. So he could play an attacking shot if he wanted to try and bank the 2 onto the 10, but he's called safe. So I think he's just going to try and hide the cue ball behind that wall of balls, which he's achieved. Now I'm looking at this. If I miss the 2, if I play a foul, it's pretty much game over because the 10's sitting over the pocket. But if I can catch that 2 ball thin off the long rail, and that's what I'm looking at here, I could send it over towards the 10, and the 10's so close to the pocket that pretty much any contact on that 10's going to knock it in. So I'm just looking here where the point might be on the rail. We all have different methods for sighting. There's the diamond method, but I just try and picture like an angle of incidence, angle of reflection, something like balancing itself out. I managed to catch it thin, but maybe a bit too thin. It's hit the 10, but not quite enough pace. But second prize has been awarded to me. I've got a cover. So Brian's reached for the short stick. He's got to jump over the 3, not the 3, the 5 and the 7. Try and make contact with that 2, knock the 10 in and win the game. For those who might be new to this channel, you will have to forgive me. It's quite amusing. Brian's the same as me. We've both got the red, green and brown colour confusion, or colour blindness, as he knocks the 2 off the table. So it makes for quite comical commentary sometimes when we are trying to identify a ball and we need to see the number to make sure we get it right. So ball in hand, because that was a foul, knocking the 2 on the floor, and it's a straightforward combo to give me the first rack. I'm going to get the break in rack 2. What kind of break can I muster? Notoriously more difficult than 9 ball to get a ball in off the break. And at the moment we're not using a speed rack, we're just using the triangle, so that makes it a little bit harder still. Gave him a good break, but nothing went close to a pocket, but I did get safe. So Brian's just trying to hide me here behind the 3. And he's achieved that very nicely. So it's a 1 rail kick. I don't think it's worth trying to go offensive here. Sometimes you can kick and give yourself a chance to make it, but here all I want to try and do is hit the 1 as full as possible. I've called safe. The idea being, if I do hit it full ball, it should bank across to the opposite side. I managed to avoid the double kiss, so that's turned out okay. I think another safety shot is in order here. If he could get a bit of right-hand English on, try and get the cue ball down. That bottom left-hand corner is a very attractive area if you could get it down there, but the problem is he doesn't want the 1 to travel too far. So I chose instead to play more of a containing safety. Maybe trying to get the cue ball hidden there behind the 3 ball. Looking at the bank now. I will come round off 2, maybe 3 rails. Leave myself a long shot on the 2. I made the bank nicely, but I'm as straight can be here. So tough shot. If you're going to draw this back for the 3, you've really got to time it well, and you've got to be accurate, because these tables do not like pace down the rails unless you're 100% accurate. I managed to time that one quite nicely. And I'm suffering here from a little bit, so it doesn't look like it, from a little bit of over-excitement, because a shot like that definitely gives you a buzz. And I'm thinking how to get round for the 4, putting bottom and right. I want to do a 4-8 combo. And look at that. It's hanging my head. You've got to laugh, because otherwise you cry. It's a terrible miscue. Very poor delivery that time. I was aiming bottom and right on the cue ball, and I think maybe a little bit of extraneous body movement. Only takes a fraction, and then you tip slightly out of line, and that poor stroke. And I left the 3 in the hole for Brian, so he can make this now. It's never easy when a ball is right in the jaws to control the cue ball, but he's done a good job there. Come directly down towards the 4. And he's called the 10 here. By no means easy from that angle. He's got to cut the 4. Would have been much better if he could have been straight behind it. Well, this is good looking. Yes, that's excellent. What a shot. So 2 early 10s. Brian with the break, back 3. And he's got a nice break there. He elevated the butt of the cue a little bit, so he got the cue ball to bounce a little, which I think is a good way to get it to stop in the middle of the table. Looking at a bank again here in the right centre. Can guide the cue ball behind the 3. Try and come around. There is a position from which I can make the 2 and get past the 5. And that would have gone way past my desired shape had I not kissed the green. 6 ball, quite so full, so this is very makeable. I'm just working out where the path of the cue ball is going to be. There is potentially, if you just play a floaty shot with a bit of top, that you could go in that right centre pocket and scratch. I don't want to do that, so I want to try and cut the 2 in, make the gap between the 5 and the 6 bounce above that right centre pocket, something like a diamond above it, and that should take me on the line towards the 3. But overcut the 2. Shape looks good, but shape's no good unless you make the pot. It's a fairly straight shot for Brian. Just got to be careful he doesn't drift behind the 5 or the 6, which could happen if he gets too much motion on the cue ball. Kind of got to cinch it a little bit, try and kill the pace on it. Maybe even kiss into the 5. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Oh dear. So he did get quite a lot of motion on the cue ball. Slightly overcut the 2, which added to that. And he's covered it. Got to be careful here, because coming off the long rail into the 2, it's a very big corner pocket to scratch into, especially if you're trying to cut the 2 over here, which I just indicated. Yep, straight in the bin. Wasn't the best shot in the world. Giving up ball in hand. So he's just thinking now to get up for the 3. The easiest way to do it is always with a follow shot rather than a draw shot. With follow you seem to be able to get a much better idea on the speed control. As with stun and draw you can sometimes get a lot more or a lot less than you're actually looking for. He's played a nice shot. I think he does have a shot aside to the 3. Maybe a little bit flat, but he's still got a bit of an angle to make it to that left-hand long rail. A bit of below centre striking, maybe a bit of left spin would bring the cue ball down towards the 4. Yeah, didn't get an awful lot of right on there, so hence he's travelled almost directly across the table. So he's got a bit of a tricky one here. You've got to trust that you can see enough of the 4 to make the pot. And he's just looked at the line there. He wants to go between the 8 and 10 to try and get around for the 5. I think you just do plain ball. Yeah, I think it's a natural angle to get through that gap. Just grazed that 10 ever so slightly. And the cue ball's just run on a bit. He still has a shot, but it's tricky from under the rail. And these are quite difficult shots to visualise. It's slightly blind. As in you can't see the out of the pocket whilst you're down on the shot. Ever so slightly too thick. And that presents me with an opportunity to make the 5, get up for the 6 ball. Once again, just trying to calculate where the cue ball's path will be in my mind. I'm looking now that anywhere near the spot, the pyramid spot or the rack spot there, that would be quite a good place to have the cue ball. So I'm just trying to come across, use both of these long rails, and that helps you with the speed control. And that little flick off the 7 actually put me quite a bit closer to the 6 than I was going to be, so that helps. But 10 ball slightly in the way for my normal arm position. So it feels a little bit weird with the arm so straight. I normally have a bend in there. Just got fortunate there, that rattled a bit. As a consequence, I'm a little bit off angle in the sense that the cue ball is naturally going to drift towards the rail. So I'm looking at this, I'm trying to hit just below centre and punch it in. I want to bounce off that rail and get above the potting angle on the 8. But I failed to do that. I have gone towards the rail and I've left myself pretty much straight, slightly off angle, so that I'm thinking about elevating and jacking up and trying to draw back off the 8, but I'm bound to collide with the 9. So I need to hit it in such a way that it bounces off the rail and comes out, and draw the cue ball back at the same time and hope that the 2 of them line up to give me a shot. This is all because of a poor shot on the 7. There we go. Knock the 9 into a safe position. So you've got to take your medicine in these situations. The shot to play here is a safety. I'll just try and bank the 9 under the 10 ball if I can. Get the cue ball back over somewhere close to where it is now. There's the cue ball going. Oh, that's lucky again. Yeah, a couple of favourable rolls have helped me out. Another half a revolution that would have been in and the game was Brian's. And I've managed to cover the left hand side of the 9 as he looks at it. So there's a bit of a nasty shot, this. Seems to be jacking up and going left of centre on the cue ball. He might be trying to hold the cue ball behind the 10 here. Oh dear, I think this spin and the downward striking swerved the white a little bit, so that gives me a relatively straightforward shot. 9's hard on the rail, so quite an easy one to put in with a bit of run inside. And you saw me pointing to the spot I need the cue ball. Just make sure you get high enough. Don't leave yourself a thin cut. And no need for heroics on this, just a nice smooth stroke. Just follow through. The cue ball come off the rail. So I get to 2-1. And break in the 4th rack. And once again dry. Not got my break working just yet. And there is a long shot here for Brian in the bottom left. He will have natural shape on the 2. The top right. It's just a stun shot, I think. You don't need to draw back too deeply. I caught it a bit thin, and it's dressed up very nicely for me. This is a welcome opening. I just want to see exactly where the cue ball's got to be to have the favourable angle on the 2, because I want to try and put the 2 in and play shape with the 3 in the bottom left. Bit of a small window there. The 9's in the way as well. So if we could do a stop shot, stop the cue ball dead, that'd be alright, or even come back half an inch. Yeah, that looks about right. Now I can use the right hand long rail, which helps check the pace of the cue ball a little bit. Acts as a bit of a brake. And that's just a poor execution, I'm afraid. Mistimed the stroke. Put the 2 quite far wide of the pocket. I've left a shot here through the gap, looks like. Oh no, he's swerving ever so slightly, so obviously the 3 is just in the way. Never easy, those. He's given me a nice opener here. A little bit of a stretch. Just need to stun off the rail, come towards the 3 for a shot in the right centre. Yeah, I didn't quite get the pace I wanted, so I'm further away than ideal, but I've still got a nice angle. I can roll forward and just get past the 9, I think, for the 4, and don't have an awful lot to do to drop on the 5. Which is just next to the 10 there. Just want to stay above the potting line here, so the natural shape would go forward for the 6 on the bottom rail. Yeah, that's a nice angle. Eventually learning, I would previously have finished too flat on that 5, as I would likely finish too flat on the 6. So the secret here is to make sure you bounce off the rail and give yourself a decent angle. And now I'm just a bit concerned if I play with running side right hand English that I could perhaps collide with that 8 ball, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to try and come directly up the table. Off the 1 rail. And that's not ideal, because now the 8 is actually hampering my cueing a little bit. Could have done with being a little bit more central. I've just moved the 8. Of course, in the league, and the same as we're playing now, it's cue ball fouls only. So if you touch a solitary ball, you give your opponent the option to either have it replaced or to leave it where it is. Of course, if you touch more than 1 ball, touch 2 balls, then that's a ball in hand foul. So just finding it a bit awkward here, trying to get a bridge together that enables me to avoid that 8 and put a nice stroke on this. And that was all it took to just make it enough awkwardness to miss the 7. So Brian back at the table with a chance now. That 8 is on the rail, so it's quite a straightforward shot to make with a bit of running English. Leave himself at a bit of an angle so he can get round for the 9. Yeah, I think a bit of top and left here. Should strike the bottom rail somewhere close to that middle diamond. Oh, the cue ball looped forward with the top spin and came closer to the first diamond, but it's still okay. Finished a bit below the 9, so he's got to go up and down here. Got to pick your line. And he's left himself a little bit further away than he wanted. Just an extra couple of feet and this would be a gimme, but now it's tough. He's close to the rail and he's got a nasty angle. He did the right thing with that 9. He played a shot where the line of approach to the 10 would give him a shot. He had a good 3 or 4 feet that he could have played harder and still had a nice shot at the 10. So here goes. And he's just caught that a bit thick, and that double kiss is going to sell out the 10. So Brian concedes, and the first set goes to me. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Come back to the